Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Saturday, November 14th, 2020, and I am looking ahead 2 years from today, really. We're looking at a 2022 Senate map, and the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of political firms pretty much released their results, their ratings for a race that's expected to be a midterm election or a general election roughly 2 years out. And these are my initial ratings. I just want to go through the the Senate map, just because the Democratic Party might actually have a chance at winning the Senate in 2022. Now, I know that the energy typically isn't on the side of the incumbent political party. Look at 2018 when the Democratic Party picked up the House of Representatives. But in the United States Senate, the Democrats actually lost seats. They lost 2 seats. Their majority, the Republican majority, expanded from 51 to 53. So, could we be in for a similar situation in the United States Senate? Well, it's certainly possible. The Republican Party is 100% has the 100% ability to pick up the House of Representatives following this election. The Democrats are looking at a single-digit majority, which is nowhere near where they were just literally a month ago. And when you're looking at the United States Senate, you'd ask yourself, well, if the Republicans are going into this election, which they're expected to win both Georgia Senate and Georgia Senate Special, but that's still to be contested. Let's say both of those go to the Republicans. That gives them the majority of a 52-seat majority to 48 for the Democrats. So it's a little bit less than where they were a month ago, but it's still a majority regardless. The Democratic Party desperately needs the Senate, but I think that it would be pretty unfortunate for them if they got things done in the House and then they lost the House and then won the Senate after not having the Senate. It would just be a mismatched power area for the Democrats. So I don't know. I don't really know if this would be the most favorable situation for the Democratic Party, rather if they would rather retain the House of Representatives or pick up the United States Senate. I don't see a situation in which they win both, unfortunately for them, but things are always possible. This year has proven that anything is really possible. So let's go ahead and get started and taking a quicker look at some of my initial race ratings for the safe states. I don't really want to focus too much time on them just because we know how they're going to go, but this election also proved to us that states that we would have thought were safe 2 years out were not actually safe on Election Day. So these include the Republican states of Idaho, Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Missouri, and Indiana, which were actually contentious back in 2016. But I don't necessarily think that we're going to see the Republican Party have a real competitor. I mean, the last Democrat to run in this specific seat was actually the former senator in Indiana, so he couldn't even win. I don't think that the Democratic Party is going to have too much more on their in favor of them in an election year that's not supposed to be too favorable. 2022 is probably going to be a Republican wave if there ever was one. Maybe not Tea Party movement type energy. We're not going to see the Republicans pick up 63 seats in the House of Representatives, but I do think that we could see them winning the House of Representatives and picking up probably 20 to 30 seats. But Missouri and Indiana, initial rating is that these states are safe, unfortunately for the Democrats. Now, the next state that I would look at is neighboring Ohio. This is a state that I really think is going to be safe for the GOP. Rob Portman ran back in 2016. It was supposed to be a competitive race early on. It ended up being a double-digit victory for the Republicans. Again, a year that's not favorable to the Democrats. I really don't think that it's going to be super competitive. If it is, that would be going against what I'm saying. I mean, obviously things can change 2 years from now, but as I'm looking at it today, very early on, which may not always be the best indicator, I think that we should just cover it until 2022. Ohio, I would rate as safe for the GOP. Now, there are some states in the South, such as South Carolina and Alabama. These states are not going to be competitive despite them being mildly competitive in 2020. They will absolutely not be competitive. And you see neighboring Georgia. And like I said, this scenario would be if the Republicans win both Senate seats in Georgia. They are the favorites to do so, but things can happen in which the Democratic Party wins both of them. Regardless of the situation, if Jon Ossoff loses the runoff in Georgia, Georgia would be red, but the special election would actually be up in 2022 again, regardless of who wins. So it may have a Republican incumbent, it may have a Democrat incumbent, but they will still be facing another election in 2022. So it seems like they won't be getting a rest from running for Senate. So far we have 15 Republican seats. Let's go ahead and see. I believe there should be one more, yes, in the state of Alaska, which actually I was kind of iffy about. It depends on whether or not ranked choice voting actually passes in Alaska as to whether or not this race is competitive. I think that it would be safe Republican if ranked choice voting is passed. But if it's not, then we could actually see a lot of vote splitting, where the Democrats could have a realistic shot, not really of winning, but knocking out Lisa Murkowski, which actually may not be the most beneficial thing for them. But it would still be defeating a Republican incumbent, just replacing them with an independent who would probably run for the or caucus with the Republican Party, or even someone who could primary Lisa Murkowski, and she could go as a write-in candidate because she has a very good history with that. But again, it depends on ranked choice voting. We will see once an actual declaration is made. So we have 16 Republican seats, and overall this should total up, I believe, to 44. I don't know why the website isn't showing me the rest of the Senate seats. We'll go ahead and just take a look here pretty much on the Senate map. This is the Wikipedia page. You can go ahead and check it out yourself. They pretty much have all of the seats that are up. They have all of the seats that are going to be decided. So overall, the Democrats should, the Republican Party should start off in this Senate election with roughly 30 seats. As you can see right here, the to be decided means pretty much the to be decided winner in the Georgia special election. And then also, I believe this includes Arizona. So this is before the elections. After the elections, I don't know if they have Mark Kelley. I know they have him here under the potential candidate list, but we don't know who's winning in Georgia yet. That's on January 5th. But we know Mark Kelley is going to be the next senator from the state of Arizona. I believe he's actually set to be seated once the results are certified. So that could be as early as the end of this month. So we could possibly see a Democrat in pretty quickly, but I don't think that really matters. Amy Coney Barrett has already been nominated to the Supreme Court, confirmed. So that's already passed. That's already a done deal. But Mark Kelley could be seated very quickly. So let's move into some of the Democratic states. These are not too surprising. The West Coast solidifies for the Democrats. Kamala Harris is actually from this specific Senate seat. And while some people think that it could be competitive, it's California. It's not going to be competitive. Absolutely not. California, Illinois, Maryland, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, safe for the Democrats. New York as well. Vermont and Connecticut. Now, one thing about New Hampshire is that it was actually safe for the Democrats in this election, but it will not be in this upcoming election. Actually, Chris Sununu, some of his advisors have hinted that he may be running for Senate, and that will be a very competitive Senate race if he does end up running. So Chris Sununu may very well run in New Hampshire. If he does, it will be probably one of the closest races we will see. And unfortunately for Maggie Hassan, I don't think she's really faced a situation where she wasn't in a close race. Her last election was decided by thousands of votes. So New Hampshire, that one will definitely be a swing state. I don't have any other states that I would consider to be safe for the Democrats or safe for the Republicans. So the remaining states are what I consider to be early swing states. That means that these states technically could move out of the swing state column. For example, Marco Rubio in Florida could very well solidify his base and expand, and then that would no longer be a swing state. But for right now, I'd say that the Democratic Party is probably going to target a lot of these states. The Republican Party is going to be playing defense in a lot of these states. So we could very well see 10 competitive races across the country. Now, the reason, like I said, why I have Georgia filled in is because if David Perdue wins this seat, it will not be up in 2022. The only reason why it is on this map is because we have yet to have a winner in that seat. So we just need to keep it in there just for the sake of balancing the majority. But overall, the Republicans would, if they win there, would not have an election up in 2022. Their next election would actually be in 2026. So 6 years from then. However, or 4 years from this map. But however, if Kelly Loeffler wins the special election, or even Raphael Warnock, they will be up in 2022 because it is going to be up for their term. So this gives the Democrats 9 seats out of the total, what is that, 35 seats up in this election. Not really 35. I mean, deduct Georgia, it should be 34. The Republicans get 16. And the Republican Party probably will see some Democratic opposition in Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, even Alaska, just because the Democratic Party would like to nominate candidates who could make these states competitive. But realistically, this is not going to be a repeat of the 2016 election. Unless Jason Kander runs in Missouri, I really don't think that it's going to be competitive. A lot of the former Democratic nominees for Senate, probably in 2016, could run in this election and make maybe Missouri and Indiana competitive, but I don't really think that any other Democrats could do so. Some people are floating the name of Pete Buttigieg in Indiana. Even if he does run, I mean, it's still Indiana. It's still a Republican state, voted for Donald Trump by double digits. It's going to be very difficult to win over a lot of those voters. So we have 16 for the Republicans, 9 for the Democrats, 10 early swing states. So the party composition really doesn't matter now until I make an overall conclusion as to who I think would win in these 10 swing states. But keep your eye out for a lot of these states because, like the title of this video suggests, the Democratic Party could very well win the Senate in 2022, and I'll show you exactly how. Currently, they have incumbents in Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, and the state of New Hampshire. Where does that put them? That gives them 13 seats. That should put them around, I don't know why, literally, like I said, I don't know why it's not showing anything, but let's say the Republicans win Iowa, win North Carolina, Florida, and Georgia's, I guess, full election. That would leave the Democrats the possibility of winning the Senate just by winning in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, because if you look at the numbers up here, let's go ahead and see right here, Class 3, 12 Democrats and 22 Republicans, so they currently have 48. They're at 36. Let me write this down because that's going to confuse me. I don't know what I did to mess up the entirety of the map, but this should be a better way to go ahead and take a look at it. So if the Democrats were to win in Nevada, we're able to win in Colorado and Arizona. These are 3 states in a similar region that very well could be competitive. There's Wisconsin, there's Pennsylvania. These are 2 seats that the Democratic Party right now could very well win. They won in the presidential election, but they have Republican incumbents. We will see. Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey is retiring, though, so it's an open seat, actually more favorable to the Democrats, but Ron Johnson's probably going to end up running, despite him saying initially that he wasn't going to run. And then New Hampshire, if that one went blue, well, then that would bring the Democrats to 50. Right now, they would have 35 seats because I'm deducting Arizona from their total count, and if you add the 15, where does that get them? That gets them to 50 seats. So this would be a majority through Kamala Harris. Vice President-elect Kamala Harris at that time would be Vice President Kamala Harris. The Republicans would also be at 50. So this is, a weird Senate map. The Republicans would be losing a net 2 seats, unfortunately for them, but it's still recoverable. The GOP is still the favorite to win in 2022. They are the opposition party. Incumbent parties never gain seats. I think the only time we've seen in the past 3-4 decades where an opposition party has won seats in a midterm election, I think was 2002. That was the only time. And it wasn't even like the Republican Party gained that many seats. So, historically, the numbers do not favor the Democratic Party. They have a single-digit majority in the House of Representatives by the time everything is called. The Senate doesn't look super favorable, but if everything does work out in their way, they could win the Senate majority through Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. But this would require them to win expected to be very competitive races in New Hampshire, in Colorado, in Nevada, in Arizona. I mean, these races were competitive in 2016. All of them. Every single one that I just mentioned, except for Arizona, actually. But all of the ones that I just mentioned, they were all competitive in 2016. But now the Democratic Party won in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Arizona in the presidential election, as well as Colorado, Nevada, and New Hampshire. The difference in 2016 was that the states followed the way they voted in the presidential election, which is why the Democratic Party wasn't able to recapture the United States Senate. But if they vote the same way they did in the 2020 presidential election, well, the Democrats get there through the United States Senate. And also the Georgia Senate special election, which could be a wild card. The Democratic Party probably won't be focusing on Georgia as much as they are on Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in this election, but after a showing where Georgia is the only blue state in the entirety of the South, disregarding Virginia, I think that the Democratic Party may actually view it as a pickup opportunity. So Georgia Senate special, the Democrats could win it on January 5th. They aren't the favorites to do so. I'm just saying that if they do end up winning there, they would still be up for a re-election in 2022, regardless of the winner. So competitive races all around. It seems it seems like it's going to be evenly split. This election, the Republican Party was definitely playing defense, but they did it very, very well. They kept their majority, and they only lost 1 seat when they really had a possibility of losing so many more, had the election gone just slightly differently. So overall, the Democrats could win the United States Senate, but the Republicans very well could keep it. So go ahead and take a look at the 2022 United States Senate elections page. I know a lot of us don't like Wikipedia, but they do update pretty often because people can add to it and they accept those edits. So there will be a lot of announcements probably within the next year about who's running, who's not running. We will see. I think that all eyes should be pointed on to these 9 states in particular, but this election has proven to us that even states that were seemingly safe 2 years ago actually were competitive, and the numbers are proof that they were actually competitive. Montana, South Carolina, both 10-point margins of victory for Republicans, and you'd say, that's not competitive, but look at the states themselves. They should not have been that close. So we will see. Things very well could change. Ohio, Iowa, Indiana, and Missouri were all states that were definitely targeted by the Democrats in 2016. The last time this Senate map was up, but we probably won't see too many Democrats targeting it this election, but only time will tell. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2022 Senate election videos. I believe there's only one other in the playlist, so go ahead and check it out. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.